Welcome to Insane Gamer. Please like, sub, and share, and comment if you have something to say about today's video. God of War Laufey, or Laufey. Don't know how to say it yet, but you get what I'm getting at. We're going to break this down. I'm not going to bash it or anything like that, but I will give my opinion on it. Okay, let's break down exactly what was revealed at the June 2nd State of Play. First, the basics. God of War Laufey or Luffy or Faye is confirmed as a full mainline AAA entry, not a spin-off, not a smaller side story. When fans asked Santa Monica Studio directly if this was a full-length game, they responded with two words: sure is. This is the next chapter of God of War. This will be a PS5 exclusive. There's no PC version, no PS4 version. Sony drew the hard line. If you want to play this, you need a PS5. And honestly, that's a big deal considering they ported God of War 2018 and Ragnarok to PC. But this one right here, it stays on PlayStation. The story picks up after Faye's death. The official description says, death was supposed to be the end. But for Faye, warrior and wife to Kratos, a new adventure is just beginning. She awakens in a weird place, in a weird land after her funeral, and she discovers that the plans that she put in place to protect Kratos and Atreus are now at risk. So the issue is that she wakes up in the afterlife and she finds out that everything she sacrificed to protect her family is in danger. That is the whole premise of the game/story. Now, this afterlife, this realm is called the Everywhen, and this is where things get really interesting. The Everywhen is described as the afterlife of the gods, plural, from across all mythologies, Norse gods, Greek gods, and reportedly others like Egypt, and they're all there competing for power of the Everywhen. This means that Faye could potentially run into characters from the Greek era of God of War. She could encounter gods that Kratos killed. The Everywhen is essentially a crossroads for every mythology Santa Monica has ever built. That idea, not too shabby in my opinion, but I do have some reservations, which we'll get to a little bit later. Now the cast, you have Deborah Ann Woll, she plays Faye. You might know her from Daredevil on Netflix. She brought Karen Page to life for years. This is a massive casting choice. She has the range to carry a character this emotionally complex. And then there's Phranque. Phranque, a gelatinous cube with a face, voiced by Jack Quaid from The Boys. If you watch The Boys, you should know who he is. He's described as a curious cosmic cube with an earnest disposition who will do whatever it takes to protect his friends. Sounds like a good friend to me. But I know what the masses are thinking. A freaking cube? I mean, even Atreus was annoying in the beginning, but then he became one of the best characters in the God of War franchise. Here's my opinion. I think Santa Monica knows what they're doing with companions, so I'm going to go ahead and give Phranque a chance. The big cube, I'm going to give him a chance. All right. Now, here's why I'm worried about this game. All right. Santa Monica Studios' track record. You have God of War 2018 and won Game of the Year at the Game Awards. Metacritic scored it a 94. It reinvented a franchise that people thought had run out of ideas. They changed the camera, they changed the tone, they kept the combat, they turned Kratos from an angry killing machine into a father trying to do better. People can relate to that on a few levels depending on who you are. And honestly, nobody thought it would work, but it was still the best game of the year. Enter God of War Ragnarok. It won Game of the Year the following year. Metacritic, 94 again. They deliver the most emotionally complex story in the franchise. Multiple playable characters, an ending that actually resolved 8 years of mythology without feeling rushed, which, in my opinion, was done right. We're talking back-to-back Game of the Year winners, okay? 2 times in a row. Now, the director for Laufey or Faye is Ariel Lawrence. New game in the director's seat. Corey Barlog, who directed 2018, is now head creative at the studio, guiding the overall vision. Some fans saw this as a risk, but look, Barlog has history with the studios. He created a culture and a system. Ariel Lawrence has been inside that system, okay? She's been seeing what's going on. The DNA of what makes God of War great does not leave when the director changes. It's baked into the studio. They know exactly what people want. But does that mean they can make some changes? Of course, but hopefully not too drastic. Now, on to my next point. there are some details from the announcement that I think people are seriously underreporting. First, the combat. Santa Monica described it as building on the modern God of War combat system, but with, and I quote, Greek era DNA. That's massive. The original God of War games, the ones with Kratos on Olympus, was pure chaos. Fast, brutal, aggressive. The modern era slowed things down, made it more tactical. You had to think more, not just go in there and kill. Laufey could potentially blend both. Faye is described as a warrior. The trailer shows fast, fluid movement. This might be the most dynamic combat in the entire franchise, as far as we can see. Second, multiple mythologies. The Everywhen has Norse gods and Greek gods in the same space. Does that mean we see Zeus, Ares, characters from the old games? And if we do, and Faye is able to one-on-one those monsters, it's going to make her look overpowered in a bad way. I mean, look how Kratos struggled with all those guys. Third, there is reportedly a talking sword named Merlin. Merlin. This is Celtic mythology, bleeding into Norse and Greek framework. The Everyone might be pulling every mythology Sony Studios has researched on. Just saying. So, in my opinion, we might get older gods or gods Kratos has fought, but also new ones, which is what I'm hoping for, honestly. Now, the big question, when is the game actually coming out? Santa Monica showed no release date at the State of Play, just in development. That scared people. But Jason Schreier from Bloomberg, the most reliable source in the gaming industry, now I'm paraphrasing, but he said, don't read too much into the missing date. This one is not years away. Now, credit to Schreier, he's been right about most major PlayStation releases before. So if he's saying it's not years away, in my opinion, that points to 2027. I think this God of War Laufey is going to drop in the holiday season of 2027, right after a State of Play. All right. Now, I'm not a complete hater. All right. I think it will be a good title. Will it carry the story on? Probably not, in my opinion, but I think as its own standalone title, I think it'll do great. I'm not the biggest hater, for the record, because on that short that I posted, I got eaten up. All right. I'm not a complete hater. And with that being said, my boldest prediction is I think God of War Laufey won't win the game of the year of 2027, but I think it'll be close to winning. I think it'll be close enough. And that's just with the games that I can think of the top of my head right now. All right. Not game of the year, but pretty darn close. Here's why I say this. They have a new director with something to prove, a character nobody has ever played, a fresh mythology framework, and Cory Balrog watching over everything. Like I said before, the God of War essence is already baked in, so all the ingredients are there. So here's the takeaway from all of this, all right? Sony, they know what they're doing. They gave us one of the most anticipated PS5 exclusive announcements since Wolverine. And these games, Wolverine and this God of War Laufey game, they're targeting the same audience. PS5 players who want cinematic, story-driven, graphically stunning, single-player experiences. Yes, Faye was a ghost in the franchise for 8 years, but in the background, she was pretty important to God of War. But the thing is, she never had a voice, never had a face, never had any moments in the game other than some weapons and memories that Kratos carried. Santa Monica's going full launch. They're giving her everything, a leading role, full AAA game, a whole world built around her story, and they chose a character that, if you know the mythology, if you played the games, if you paid attention, you already have 8 years of some type of emotional investment. And that's what I think the directors are playing on. They're like, these people didn't think they wanted to know, but they kind of do want to know, and we're going to let them know. You get what I'm saying? That sounds a little crazy. Overall, I think Santa Monica Studios is excited to build this game and launch it. Honestly, you can tell just by the previews and the trailer and the gameplay. So overall, I think that, again, I'm not a hater. It'll probably be a decent game to play. Not game of the year worthy for 2027, but it'll be up there. All right. And just to lay it down, it's not a spin-off. It's her own story. It's not a cash grab. They're really trying to build something for the next chapter of God of War. Now, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please like, sub, and share for gaming breakdowns, gaming news, and live streams. Insane Gamer out.